It's Erin Anderson with the Erin Anderson Betrayal Trauma Coaching. I am super excited that you have tuned in today. Let's get talking about how to heal from betrayal trauma. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Other Side of the Struggle. I'm really excited, guys, because today I have another author with me, Gloria Landano, and her book is Flourish in Captivity. And as I've been sitting here chatting with Gloria and about her story and about her healing journey overcoming Stockholm Syndrome, it's been just an absolute amazing story, and I absolutely had to have this in this podcast for you because I know a lot of you are dealing with maybe not as severe as what Gloria has gone through, but definitely some Stockholm syndrome yourselves. And so I really wanted her on. I really wanted her to talk about this, and so I want to welcome Gloria to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Erin, thank you so much for inviting me here, and it's an honor to be able to share my story to people that it will, it will change their lives and maybe understand a little bit what they're going through.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive right into this, right? Like, you told me your story, and honestly, I have been like, oh my gosh, like everything you've gone through, right? Like, it is so traumatic. Um, but like, tell a little bit about your story, like what you've been through, and then like, what are some of the things that you're doing to bring you out of this? Because it's intense. It is definitely intense.
It is. It is intense. It's a complex trauma. And what happened was when I was 25 years old, I was kidnapped in my country, Colombia. And they put me in the trunk of a car and they put me in a room for 90 days in the dark. And in the beginning of that situation, it was like very traumatic and a lot of anxiety, like nervous. My body and my mind was all over. Like my mind was spinning. I didn't understand and comprehend where I was, why I was doing there, why me. And the
Yeah.
question was, why me? Why me? Why me? And mad. I was mad to life. I was mad to God. I was mad to a lot of stuff because I was in that situation. And in the beginning, when they told you they're gonna kill you if your family, they're not gonna pay because they kidnapped me. So they told me, you are kidnapped. You know that you're kidnapped. And I said, why you guys kidnapped me? And then they said, well, because we know your family have a little bit of money, so we need money. So that's the easy way for us. That's what they said. And I knew about kidnapping stuff because in my country is a country that is a little violent, and you see those cases more often than in other countries. So when
Yeah.
they told me I was kidnapped, I said, oh my God, like, oh, this is serious because a lot of people don't come back from being kidnapped, or they torture you on a way that, for example, the family wants to see if you are alive. They cut your finger or cut a piece of your body to show the family that you are alive, and also to put the family on like, oh my God, we need to do this fast because then they're torturing the person and they're gonna kill her eventually. So it's like a psychological, like I would say, game. And you are kidnapped and your family automatic also get kidnapped into the same situation because it's like overwhelming for both. It's overwhelming for it was overwhelming for me that I was kidnapped and I don't know what's going to happen to me in the future, and was very overwhelming for my family that they don't know where I was.
Yeah.
And in that time, I have a 3 years old daughter that that day that kidnapped me in the morning before I went to school. I leave my daughter in the daycare, and when they kidnapped me in the afternoon, like 5:45 p.m., for me was like, oh my, who's gonna pick up my daughter? I was always worried about my daughter, and my daughter alone was the one who kept me alive in the entire process. Because if I didn't have a daughter, I probably would don't care what's gonna happen to me. But going in through that, in 11 days in my kidnap, it got to a point that I couldn't cry anymore. I couldn't feel anything. It was like it was something disappear from me. And was like, okay, I'm in this situation. I accept the situation. But before I got to that conclusion, I had something powerful that talks to me, but I didn't understand. Like, Gloria, this is what it is. You have to accept the reality and just be.
Mm.
And then I said, well, and I stopped like crying and stuff. And then the mind started to change. In the first 11 days, your mind is like in flight or flight, if fight or flight. And then you like in survival mode the entire time. The three
Mm.
months is in survival mode. But at 11 days, when you just reach the point, you don't have no more energy to cry, you have no more energy for anything, start the survival mode start to change on, okay, how I'm gonna survive this situation, how I'm gonna maintain my life safe in this situation. And I start, okay, let me be grateful, and let me be kind, let me use the kindness. But it's nothing like I knew what to do. It came alone, because you want to protect your life, because they was telling me they was gonna kill me all the time. If your family don't pay, we're gonna kill you. If your family don't pay, we're gonna sell you. If your family don't pay, we're gonna take you to the gorillas. And the gorillas is an organization that live in the mountains, and they don't care if you stay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So it was like constantly on the border of panic and nervous system. My nervous system was off.
Oh,
So
yes.
it was constantly all the time in that survival mode that is so tiring. It takes everything from you. But then your body get used to, and to live like that is awful. So when I start telling them, oh, thank you for the water, thank you for the food, thank you for taking me more to take a shower. Thank you for everything, everything. Then I started to see that at the beginning was like, oh, what this woman is telling it, what this girl's telling us, oh, thank you for everything in the condition that she is in. And and then I saw that the energy is starting to shift with the kindness.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys was like more nicer. And then I start developing more into the Stockholm syndrome.
The Stockholm Syndrome, right.
Stockholm syndrome. And I started to see them differently, not my enemies. It was more, okay, I need to survive. I need to be friends with them. I need to survive. I probably need to seduce one of them, because
Mm.
it was always like men. And I saw one of the guys. When you are in survival mode, you are super intelligent and you have like superpowers, and you started like to read and to understand each person that have you in captivity.
Yes.
And in my case, it was 4 men, and I can't describe. I never see their faces because they was always covered, so I only see the eyes. And so my five senses started to amplify. So I see the soul. The eyes is the window of the soul. So I was dealing only with the eyes and the window of the soul. So the kindness went through that.
Yeah.
And I started to learn like how each one smells, how each one's talk, the 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 sound of the voice, the energy of the voice, who was who. Like I discovered who was the leader of the organization. I also discovered who was the one in the in the pyramid, the one in the bottom, like the worker. And I start like understanding that, but the survival mode get me into that. Like, okay, we need to survive. We need to see. And then I start like, oh, I see this guy is kind of quiet and kind of reserved. I want to start seducing this guy. Then I started like, hi, how are you? Good morning, more like more extra nice. And the guy started to engage. And then I said, oh, I do have a power. Like
Mhm.
women have that power to seduce. And I start like, oh, you smell good. Oh, when you come in, oh, thank you for the food. Thank you for this. And then the guy start like bringing me more different foods, more attend what I need. And then I say, okay, this is my target for me to survive and for me to live. And then I involve emotionally with him and sexually also with him, and I got what I need. I got, like he said to me, I'm gonna save you no matter what. That was my purpose. And if your family don't pay, uh, I take you with me. So that was my purpose. But inside of me, I was saying, no, I don't want to be with this guy. I just using this guy for me to survive.
Mhm.
And then something weird starting to happen. Like I start feeling love for him,
Mhm.
and then like trying to protect them, and like trying to help them how they can talk to my family for them to get the money that they need. But I was like doing that, like, okay, my family needs to understand that I trying to negotiate the the kidnap inside, and I don't want my family to pay more of what they are asking for. So my family didn't understand that, but I already have the people inside of, a different with me, because there was one situation, December 18, 1997, that my family requests they want to see if I was alive. My family say we don't have money to pay for it. Uh, we're not gonna pay, and God bless you and your daughter in good hands, and we have nothing to do with this. And for me, after 2 months here and that, it was like I got I feel abandoned, and I said, "Wow, how my family can do this to me." But I didn't know what was happening on the other side,
Right, right.
and I got mad to my family for a long time because of that.
Yeah.
And I never understand why they did that. It was for me like a roulette. Like,
Mm.
okay, if what happened if my kidnappers, if I didn't do the work that I was doing, the kidnappers will kill me in the moment, because that's what they said. Oh, you hear black mother, a big word, and we're gonna kill you because you hear what your family is saying. I can understand your family why they saying that, blah blah. They was mad, and I was going into panic attack. Like, okay, this is serious. They're gonna kill me, or they're gonna sell me. It was like something like I could comprehend. I think the only people can understand this is people that be in captivity or people that be in war.
Yeah.
Is something that, like, it take your essence and takes everything from you. Is that desperation of wanting to leave and to not feel that they're gonna kill you. And because I had already working in the kindness, the guy that I have the connection, the guy said, wait, let's pause here. Let's pause here. See, she's having, a breakdown, a nervous breakdown. Let's wait. And they leave, and then I said, oh my God, they're gonna kill me. So the guy, I would say in this podcast, my guy, came in and say, don't worry, we're gonna see what we can do, but I don't want you to get killed. So for
Mhm.
me, it was like, okay, if I trust this guy or not. But that was the only option I have, to trust the guy.
Yeah.
And then I have to do some like card letters to my family saying that please don't pay the money and all that stuff. And I get and something also happens when you are in captivity. When you're in captivity, your physical body is kidnapped, but your mind is free. So you are have like ideas, and the survival mode give you this sensation of how you're gonna survive the situation.
Mhm.
But when you get out from the kidnap, your body is free, but your mind auto kidnap right away because you already suffer like a complex trauma because
Yeah.
you go through a lot in
Yeah, and
very short time.
your brain is like trying to say, "Okay, I don't want that to happen again." And so it like it almost kind of collapses in on itself to make sure it doesn't happen
Exactly.
again. Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Exactly. It's very hard to understand like how the mind how the mind can trick you so quickly. And in one moment you are like, oh, thriving with your mind because you're trying to survive, and then the next hour that release you, your mind gets in panic and gets like, oh my God, oh, I thank God I get out from this and I don't want this happen to me again. So I got scared for everything. I got scared for the night. I got scared to be in the dark. I got scared to be alone. I got scared to walk outside. I got scared for everything. And also I have this like abandonment, thing.
Mhm.
Then I have the rejection, and I have all these kind of issues that the kidnap situation got me into. So I was a hot mess,
Oh, yeah.
emotionally a hot mess.
Yes. 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 I mean, and it makes sense. Like you would be, right? Because that's such a complex trauma and that's such a big thing to be dealing with. And like, granted, I don't know, but I don't think any of my listeners have gone into quite that complex of a trauma, right?
Right.
But you're right. You're so right. Like what ends up happening, like when we finally get out of that situation, is our body becomes free, but our mind goes right into captivity because your amygdala is just on fire. Like this is
Yes.
just what happened. Like holy heck, like I don't want that to happen again. And so you're constantly watching your back. You're constantly like where do I need to run? And so it puts you almost in this fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response on a consistent basis. You know?
Yes. And to heal that, it takes a long time, and it took a long time for me because when I got released, my parents didn't have the education to understand how bad I was. So I didn't have a therapy right away. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. So I was running in survival mode the entire time. And after I got released, like 10 months after, I couldn't live anymore in my country. I feel like I was kidnapped and I was continuing kidnapped because my father don't want me to go anywhere. If I go to the supermarket, it was with 4 or 5 people. And it was like, who can live like this? So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I still kidnapped in
Mm-hmm.
with my family. My family also was kidnapped in a way. And I run I run to this country in survival mode. And that was make me successful in the job or the work I did because I came to this country. When you're an immigrant, you come to this country, you need to survive. So I was in survival mode. So already I was on in survival mode. So for me to scale in the job and whatever I was doing, it was quickly. But mentally, emotionally, I was a mess. I
Yeah.
was like very defensive, very toxic. A Nobody can tell me anything because I just slap on it, like like answer in the wrong way. My relationship with people was terrible. The
Mm-hmm.
relationship that I had with my partner, because I did have different partners, it was terrible. And because I didn't have the help to deal with the PTSD. Because
Right.
PTSD is complex too. PTSD, you don't know when it's gonna come up. Because you can
Hmm.
be like, watching TV and something come out that triggers you and then you react. So I was I was very reacting to a lot of stuff until one day I said, wow, I'm really not, I'm not really good at what I'm doing, like emotionally, my relationship with my family, the relationship with everybody. I hate my family for a long time because I never hear their story. I never hear their side of what happens when they have to say they don't have money. So I was mad to them. I didn't want to talk to them for a long time. And somebody told me one day, Gloria, if you really want to succeed in life and be better, you have to forgive your family and talk to them and be closer to them. And I said, no, they do this to me, blah, 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 blah. And then I had to sit down with my father and ask him, why you say this? That you have no money and I feel that you just left me there and you don't, I feel that you guys don't care about me. And I remember that day was a healing, the one of the most healing process I already did, because he started to cry and he said, well, we have to take medication for us to be able to say that, because we didn't want you to, nothing happens to you. But the person who was in charge to deal, like the military, the person who's in charge to deal with the people that are kidnapped, he told us what to do because we don't know what to do in the negotiations with these people. So the authority told my father and my mother, you have to say you don't have no money. And my father was asking to the guy who was in charge, are you sure? Are you sure I cannot do this? And the guy said, well, you have to take medication if you cannot do this, because we need to trying to fool the kidnappers and make them think that this is not a case here, so they can release you. And then I said, well, that was, I was lucky that this guys didn't do anything to me, but it was a possibility for like, oh, they're gonna kill me in the moment. So having that conversation with my parents, it was powerful because I just run with my story. I just run with my side. And because I was emotionally ill, I was selfish to listen to anyone. And then in the Stockholm syndrome started to reflect in my relationships,
So tell me about
because
that.
I start to get attached to guys in survival mode. And okay, this guy, I don't feel that I have the capacity to stay in this in a economic wise. I don't know if I can, if I can support myself. So I think this guy can help me.
Mm-hmm.
So I got attached to him. And I
Mm.
was happy to with him because he was providing. I was providing too. But in my mind didn't recall that I can do this by myself. I needed him.
So I'm curious, do you feel like, with everything you've gone through, because this is just like such a uh wow story, like what you went through is just so hard,
Yes.
right? It like so incredibly hard. Do you feel like because of what you went through in the captivity that um that is what taught you that you could not do it by yourself? Because really you couldn't get out of the situation by yourself. You had to form a bond with one of your captors. Like I see that, right? In or
Yes.
because that was your safety. Like they had to be your safety,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so you form this bond with your captor because he was the only one that could provide you that safe passage out. Um, do you feel like that is the piece that filtered over into that relationship, these next relationships, because you realized or you believed that you couldn't do it yourself because of what happened?
Yes, 100%. I I doubt myself many times because of that. Because yes, a lot of people can say, "Wow, you're so strong. You're survivor." And yes, you have no choice, but it comes with that uh, something so ingrained on you. Like it changed completely the chemical of your brain. It changed a lot of stuff about you.
Mm-hmm.
You when you get kidnapped, you are one person. When you get out, you are another completely person. So you lost your identity because
Yeah.
it forced you to be different.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm gonna go get kidnapped because I want to change. No, the situation make you change a lot of stuff from you that you didn't even understand.
Yeah. Well, I say this all the time that like trauma, and especially complex trauma, it teaches you, like, you're always learning things. Your brain is always pulling things in. And so when you go through a complex trauma, your brain is like on hyper learn, right? And you
Yes,
you
yes,
explain that. Like it's so like tapping into almost more than what you would normally use, to
yes,
keep yourself safe and to keep yourself in these situations. But you learn certain things in a complex trauma or any type of trauma that actually when you take them into, a normal life, it makes it anything but normal, because
yes,
trauma teaches you things that actually do not work for a normal life.
yes. In on like I said, it's difficult to make the changes like right away. It's like 3 months in panic, 3 months on survival mode, 3 months on in darkness, 3 months trying to survive. You don't have no rest. Even I remember when I go to sleep, I wake up in the middle of the night and
Mm-hmm.
start to cry. It's a constant 3 months of you crying and constantly worry, constantly every time they open that door, what they gonna do to me? Every time they came in with those guns, is living in the border of the edge the entire time.
Right.
So when you get released, you live like that.
Yeah.
And how long is gonna take that to for you to realize that it's not anymore? It's different in everybody.
Yeah.
For me, it takes a long time.
Yeah. Well, it would, because like I said, you even in 3 months, I mean, you pull in a lifetime of information in that amount of time,
Yeah.
right? And you have to. So, you know, like you talked about like forming a bond with your captor, and like in a sense being in captivity with your future relationships too. Like you kind of looked
Yes.
for those things because you realize that there's actually a safety
Yes.
in the captivity, right? And like it's insane to say that to somebody, like that hasn't been in your situation, but you felt safer because you actually knew what you could control in that moment, right?
Correct. Yes.
And so you start looking for that in your partners. So tell me about like healing from this type of Stockholm syndrome. Like it sounds like looking for the actual truths is what started to shift. So start telling me like how changing, because I know right now you're not in a relationship, which I think is such a good thing for you,
Right.
especially, right?
Yes.
Because of these things that you've learned about relationships. But where are you at right now in healing the Stockholm syndrome? Like how did you start working this out of your mind, your body, and your nervous system?
I got into realization 5 years ago that I never loved anybody. In every single relationship I was in, it was a survival mode for me to feel safe. And when you are being kidnapped in Stockholm syndrome, you lose your identity. So I also feel that I didn't have identity. and
Mhm.
in my relationships. And also I didn't have, my self-esteem was low. And I I've been very successful in business, but very not that successful in my relationships because that was my, my safety survival mode was there. So the last relationship, I was attracting a lot of narcissist people.
Mhm.
And I also question myself, okay, so I'm a narcissist too, in a way, because I'm attracting a narcissist. But I'm also okay with a narcissist. I can deal with the narcissist because if I deal with the kidnap, I can deal with any situation that was in my
Mhm.
mind. So 6 years ago, I said no. 5 years ago, I said no. I cannot. I'm not. I don't feel authentic. I don't feel myself. I'm doubting myself all the time. This relationship that I had with my husband for 14 years is horrendous.
Mhm.
I I don't trust. Eh, and in the weird thing, I got these partners that I can trust. They do always something for me not to trust. So I started to have from kidnap I have trust issue. So I
Mm.
was attracting trust issues. So
Yeah.
the last person, he did something, he betrayed me so bad that he like break my core in pieces. And for me to get up from that, it took me almost 10 years. 10 years for me in therapy, 10 years for me to understand. For me, 10 years, it was like more same thing. Betray, humiliation, not trusting. And I said, no, I'm gonna finish this relationship 5 years ago. I was in fear. Like, oh my God, now what? I'm gonna divorce. I'm not gonna have money enough to support myself. I don't know if I can work again. I'm in my 48 because I decide when I 5 years, I decide when I was 47, 48. I don't at my age, 48, 49. Oh my God, what I'm gonna do by myself. I'm too old to restart my life. And then the conversation start like, but I already lived with him for 40 years, not trusting him. But I feel okay here. And maybe I don't talk about this subject to him because every time I touch this subject to him, he get mad at me and he scream on me and he gets like weird with me. So if I don't talk about that bother me, I probably can avoid a fight. So what I was doing, it was surviving and accepting all the stuff that he was doing to me. He was very sarcastic. He laughed about me, and I got very mad when he do all that kind of stuff, and I got into very verbal. I verbal abuse. He verbal abused me, so we got into verbal abuse. We got into also physical abuse because he said to me one day, oh, you are nothing and you cannot do anything, and he pissed me off so much. And
Mhm.
then we got into physical, and we called the police and all the stuff, and I said, no, I cannot live here anymore. If I stay one more time here, we probably, one of us, we're gonna kill each other, because
Mhm.
I'm not gonna I was in the point that I was not gonna tolerate anymore from him.
Mhm.
So I have to make the decision. And the decision was, eh, 10 years ago, one of my friends told me, let's go to a forgiveness retreat for 4 days. And that forgiveness retreat, it was the beginning of my transformation. But it was like, it's not like you go for 4 days and you come completely different. No, it's
Oh no.
just, you just start peeling. You just start peeling what you have to work.
Yes, I agree.
So I started to change, and I started to see that I was not in the right place with the right person
So
in
what
the
did
right moment.
so what did you learn about forgiveness that shifted things for you? That was the turning point.
Forgiveness for me is the most powerful tool that exists for you to heal anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have like a fight or you're angry to someone, you have that energy on you, and you feel like you're heavy. You think that things don't go well, and every time you think about that person, you feel angry and mad and upset, and so your chemicals in your body start again over and over and over, damaging you body, damaging your mind. So forgiveness for me is the tool number one. When I did the forgiveness to my father and my mother, it was like, wow, a lot of miracles starting to happen for me.
Because it
Like
opens up
more
it opened up the door of truth, right?
correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So then I had to I already did the forgiveness to the kidnappers
Mm-hmm.
before I leave the kidnap. Because I told them, thank you so much for everything, like that. Thank you so much for everything. I don't feel anything, against of you, but I didn't know I have Stockholm syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
But when I get out, it was so ironic. Like I didn't feel bad things about them because they didn't kill me, they didn't torture me, they didn't do anything. But I took a long time with my family mad because what they said. So it's ironic thing. I should be mad to the kidnappers longer and not longer with my family. So it's something that you don't know why things happen that way. So forgiveness, I forgive the kidnappers. I think about them. It doesn't feel anything like mad or nothing. I forgive my father and my mother. I ask for forgiveness too because I'm, sorry for everything I feel about them. And my last relationship, my ex-husband also, I did also a process of forgiveness, writing letters of forgiveness, and also telling him to forgive me of thinking all those bad things about him. And he also was he apologized to me, and also he asked for forgiveness to me, but that one took a little bit longer with him. It was like, yes, we did that, but then I feel later, years later, that I still have things, bad feelings about him because what he did to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the decision. I said, I'm getting divorced. The 2 first years was very emotionally like distraught. I got a little bit of depression, a lot of anxiety too. Of and don't know what's gonna happen. I have to change my car. I have to change my house. I have to change the way I'm living. I was living very, very good, and then I still living very good, but it was a big change for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of women are they stay in relationships to not lose their status.
Mm.
And they stay in relationships, they said, because they're kids. But they don't know when you stay in a relationship that is that bad, you also damaging your kids. And that what happens to my mom and my father. My mom stayed with my father for 33 years, and I saw a horrendous relationship, toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, 8 years old, when I was 8 years old, I don't want that. Oh, I don't want that. And guess
Yeah.
what? I repeat the story.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because that's what you saw. That was your normal, right?
Yes.
And so we can sit there and say, like, I don't want that, but until we actually see what that is and like the patterns of that, like that's exactly what we do because our brain is already programmed into those patterns. You have to absolutely reprogram and unprogram, in a sense, your brain so that
Yes.
way, you don't keep following these same, symptoms and these same patterns. So, going back to the Stockholm Syndrome, right? Because, you know, you're right. Like a lot of women do have a fear to leave, right? Because, for your kidnapper, attaching to him, that was your safety, right?
Right.
attaching to your husband, it was some type of safety, right? Even though
Yes.
he was like volatile, like there was the financial safety, there was some sort of stability that you wanted, right?
Yes. Yes.
And at some point you had to say to yourself, actually the stability that I want isn't what he has to give. The stability I want is, yes, I want this financial stability, but I also want emotional stability. I want mental stability. I want physical stability, right? And we start looking at all the areas of our life that we need stability in. So, you know, what would you suggest then to a woman who is dealing with the Stockholm Syndrome, who is struggling to leave because she's still in that space of, you know what, I love him, right? I feel connected to him. Like, what would you tell her? Like, one of the number one things you've got to realize.
We think when we are in relationships like that, we think we love them. It's not
Hmm.
love. That's not that's not love. It's love for them because they think that probably that's what they see before, and they probably are used to that. But that's not love. Erin, somebody that betray you, or somebody that humiliate you, or somebody that treat you bad and verbal abuse you in many ways, do you think that is love?
Not at all.
Not at all. But for them, they think is that. And I thought when I was kidnapped, I feel love for this kidnapper. And I thought I was in love with my husband for 14 years. And I said,
Mm.
no, this is not true. This is not the love. Because I saw people that have good relationships and they have good marriages. Of course, every marriage have their own stuff, but some people have very healthy relationships. And for me, it was so hard to believe that. For me to, if you come and say to me, Gloria, I know I have a good relationship. We laugh, we travel, we do this and stuff. And yes, we do have our stuff, but we resolve things quickly. I don't believe you. I was in in that, like, yeah, right. Why? Because it's based in my experience
Yeah.
and based on what I see. So what I told to women that they think they love the person who abuse you, that's not love.
Mm.
They need to get out of that scenario and start to learn about love and
Mm-hmm.
see if this is if it's really what you understand about love, is really what you're receiving. Because we cannot say that love is this way or this way. No, let's find out what is a real relationship, what is love, unconditional love. Because
Mm-hmm.
love, 100% sure, love is not the person who abused you. That's not love.
No,
No,
no.
no,
Because you can't give what you don't have, right? And whatever that person is
exactly.
giving is what they have,
Yes, and
right?
always the abuser is being abused.
Mm-hmm.
So if they being abused, they become abusers, or they abuse them, or they are used to. If they can go into routes. They
Yeah.
like they like people to abuse them, and they're okay there, or they become abusers.
Yes.
So when a women are in a relationship with abuser, the two people are completely emotionally ill. Either
Mm.
way.
And mentally to some degree,
Oh
you
yeah,
know? Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And and again, my sweet listeners, I mean, we're not here to say that you're mentally ill or anything like that,
right,
but it is what she's saying is true, right? Because tr when we stop, when we slow down and we sit there and we're like, what is actually true here, right? That's us connecting into love because love is truth,
right.
right? It absolutely is
Yes.
truth. Truth is also seeing the very best in yourself. Like, yeah, you might see like what this person can do and like what their potentials is, and maybe you might love that perception and you think to yourself, I can help them get to that perception. But the truth of the matter is it's not up to you to help somebody else take action. You can't do that.
We
You know,
cannot be saviors.
no, we are not the savior. We cannot be saviors. We are not the savior. And this is why forgiveness is so important, is because it is literally giving up like what is so hard in our lives to the Savior. Now, if you don't believe in the Savior, then you've got to really take a look at what your highest form of love is, right?
Exactly. Yes.
You've got to take a look at, you know, what is it out there that loves me so purely because it sees like the true version of me, right?
Yes.
And we're not talking about just, living a mundane lifestyle, like actually a glorious version of you, right? That sees
Yes.
the best of you. What is out there that's moving heaven and earth, the energies and everything like that for your best interest? What
Right.
is out there that's literally taking, and I love this analogy, that's taking a banana grown in Ecuador, you know, knowing that that banana grown in Ecuador is going to be given to you from your grocery store, like understands where that path is headed, puts the exact nutrition in that banana that you need for your body, right? Sends it to your grocery store so you can buy it and eat it,
Right.
right? That's what we're talking about when we say the highest form of love. It's whatever it is that's out there that has your back so incredibly,
Right.
right?
For example, when you know when a women are have a Stockholm syndrome and have an abuser, when the abuser show a little bit of attention, a little bit of love, like for example, oh, I like your haircut today.
Mm-hmm.
That woman needs to want that more, not so little, because that's what abusers do. They when they see that the person, the women is like don't want anything, and the women are seeing the truth about the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
they know that the woman is changing. So what's happened is starting to, say nicer things to her, because women tends to have always a hope,
Mm-hmm.
because we are not the women that we go in a relationship and for whatever reason we just end and abort the relationship. We work the relationship, we try, we also suggest our partners, let's go to the therapy, couple therapy. We always looking for solutions.
Mm-hmm.
But when the users see the women is going another the users start like, oh, I like your haircut, or starting to be nice for a week. And when
Mm-hmm.
the women say, oh, oh my God, I'm so happy. Now I don't need to make the decision. I don't need to go anywhere. Um, he's changing. He's not changing. He's chasing you to stay.
He's
So
placating.
for him to abuse you more.
Yeah, it's placation.
Yes.
It's absolute placation. And you need to understand that because somebody that truly loves you is also consistent,
Consistent.
right?
Yes.
It's not this up and down roller coaster of a relationship where you're feeling like you're a yo-yo. You know, every time your string gets pulled, and that's what that is yanking your chain, right?
Yes.
And thinking, "Oh, okay, now I have a little bit of hope." That's actually the sickest game somebody can play
Yes.
because they know what you need. They know what you desire. They know what they
Yes.
need to do, but they refuse to do it unless they're playing a game with you.
Unless they feel that they are losing you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a story that happens to me with my last husband. The day I said to him I want a divorce, I went to Costa Rica to live for 3 months by myself. And in that process, I was processing like to be alone, to see if I was doing the right decision and all that stuff. 10 days before I was coming back to the States, he started being nicer. And he started like, yes, we should work the relationship. I'm so happy. And I start like, oh my God, I'm so happy. He's changing. He was calling me every day, sending me texts. I love you. I miss you. I can see. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to, have you here. the day I come back, he received me with flowers and with a big smile, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is so good! These 3 months I was out, he really find out about my value and he loved me and all this stuff." Somebody that is not real cannot hold for more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, they
When
can't.
somebody's not giving you the real love, the real thing about the person, authentic, it cannot hold that for too long. Of
Nope.
course, 2 weeks after that,
Back to what you guys were at.
back to the same thing. And that's, I said to that day, I said, you know what? I'm calling my lawyer to restart the process. Because I stopped the process because he said, I want you to stop the process. Let's think about it, blah, blah, blah. And the 2 weeks after I come back, when he showed me again the same thing, I said, that's not anymore. I don't want this anymore. Let's
Hmm.
restart the case. But a trick, people like that, it trick us when in them way, like you said, when they know what we like and what we know and what we're expecting. Let me tell you, they play with us, and we leave them to play because it's also our fault. Because we can see, we know that, but the fear to leave the relationship doesn't allow us to be authentic.
Yes. And that's the key, I think. And
Yeah.
tell me what you think, like in healing Stockholm Syndrome is actually being authentic to you,
Yes.
right? Like, because we attach for safety, but in truth, when you actually start loving yourself so deeply, it's so much harder for you to attach to someone that is not authentic themselves. That
No.
doesn't mean, like you said, that there's not going to be struggles in the relationship. That doesn't mean there's going to be times like, holy heck, what did I get myself into?
Yes.
Right? It comes down to whether or not that person will be consistent in change,
Right.
right? Because
Right.
you're consistent in changing for you. And the thing is you don't want somebody else to change for you. You want somebody else to change for them.
Exactly.
And once you find somebody that is consistent in changing for them, that self-growth, that hey, I love me for me, right? Then, and you're doing the same thing, that's a healthy relationship
Yes.
because you're
Yes.
both living the relationship for you, yourselves, right? But you're benefiting mutually because you're both giving yourself your own needs,
Exactly.
right?
And this is something like to think about, like why my husband betrayed me, because I betray myself.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yes.
that's number one, because we can sit down and say yes, him. No, I betray myself. And when I understand that 4 years ago, I cried like a little baby because I was betraying myself, how I was living all this to happen and not realize why the fear was holding me down. And I said, I'm going to confront you, fear. I am capable to be by myself. I can be capable to heal myself and to be in peace with myself. And that was my ultimate goal,
Yeah.
to nurture, to revive myself, to understand myself, to get up my self esteem because I feel ugly because the guy didn't look at me. I feel ugly. I feel weird differently because the guy was never like, oh, you're so beautiful, and that, or things that we like to hear from our men. Nothing. So my self-esteem was down. I said, no, I'm gonna start loving myself. And the only way to understand that is being by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, first time in my life I'm gonna be by myself. And I have already 4 years and a half, and I'm so happy. And every time I feel free, and every time I know myself and recognize myself, and I said, thank you for all that experience that I can recognize myself and love myself.
Yes.
And with that comes like the fear also, a little bit of dating, because I said, oh my God, date, to go back to that for all the work I've been doing. Oh no, I don't know if I can do that again. It's because I'm not ready. And
Yeah.
people, when they get out from relationships, the worst thing can do is go jump
Get
in
back.
another. No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Give yourself
That's the
some
worst
space.
thing.
Give yourself
Yeah.
some space. Give yourself some time.
Yeah.
Yes, I completely, completely agree. Oh, I
And
love
when
it.
you have a complex trauma, you have to give more time.
Yes. Yes. Yes, you do. You need more time to be by yourself and to love yourself. Love yourself the way God loves you. See yourself the way love sees you, right?
Yes.
Because if you love yourself to that degree, then you're going to start seeing other people that reflect that same type of thing. If you're
Yes.
attracting people into your life that do not see you, do not love you, do not care for you, that are just in a sense trying to like emotionally and mentally vampire off of you,
Yes.
you've really got to take some look inside of yourself and say, hold on, what is it about me that's attracting this, right?
Yes.
And you've really got to answer those questions and take a
Yes.
really good self dive in and look at what's going on inside of you, right?
Is just think about if you have 20, 25 years of being abused, just think how much time you need to rebuild yourself. A lot of time
Mhm.
to rebuild that back. A lot of time. But
Mhm.
you need to have that want it to say, I'm gonna stand up for me. And if you have kids, also to show your kids that you cannot continue with that chain of suffering because it's a chain of suffering. So you want your kids to repeat your story even worse.
Yeah, exactly. And it
So
does.
so kids can see you rebuild yourself. Wow, oh, my mom was abused. My mom don't. She finally find out and put us in a safer environment. And oh, I see my mom is getting better. So
Mhm.
that is teaching your kids to also not tolerate abuse.
Yes. I agree. Because and that's the beauty about this. Is
Yeah,
like the reason why we become the best versions of ourselves is so that way our kids can see it and become the very
exactly.
best versions of themselves. I love it.
Right.
So tell us a little bit quickly about your book. We've got just a few more minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd like to hear about Flourish in Captivity. Obviously, you tell your story in
Right.
that, but what is the process you help women through when they pick up your book?
Well, my book is a memoir of survival, forgiveness, and hope. So when you go through this, it's a you read that book in one day if you want. It's very short, and I made it with that intention for you to see another perspective of life. That some people go through complex trauma, and are I was able to flourish in captivity, flourish on all this path. It's not a being a easy path, it's being a challenge path because I like to change the difficult to challenge. But that's exactly what my soul choose.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we say, why me? Why me? Yeah. You came here to this earth with a purpose and a mission. And when you understand that you have a purpose and a mission, is when somebody read my book that is a guidance for survival, I teaching another person to understand survival and even understand that how complex we can be and in the way we can, flourish in life. Because I always said, it's weird to say this, but the kidnap was a blessing in a way
Yeah,
because it teach me so many things. But also I have the choice to go in two routes: the one of the victim or the one that, you know what, this thing happens to me, it's painful. I have a lot of things to deal with. I have to convert this into positive way. And I did it.
you did.
And that's what I want. When people read this book, to say, you know what? I never have that kind of trauma, but my traumas are a little bit different and I think a little bit more easier, I would say, to overcome than a complex trauma. because everybody have trauma, and trauma are necessary for evolution.
They are. And you know, the thing is this one of the things I talk about often is honestly, if you want to find out what your mission and purpose is, you got to take a look at your passions. You got to take a look at your spiritual gifts, like the things that you were born with. You got to take a look at your talents. They're different. Spiritual gifts and talents
Yes,
are different. And you got to take a look at your traumas. Because when you understand your own traumas and you heal them, you can actually start to see a pattern in your life that maybe this is a piece of what I'm here to do, right?
right. To help people to get out from that survival mode, for people to be free. Because I said they took away my freedom, but yes, physical freedom, but I also kidnapped myself. So what is the purpose? To be free mentally, emotionally, and
Mm-hmm.
also in your heart, free of of anything. That's why it comes the forgiveness. That's why I said forgiveness. It frees you. It frees you from everything.
Because it's actually for the giving. It is giving something up that
Yes,
you has been anchoring you and keeping you low for so long. Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So yeah.
Wow.
And also
Gloria,
to
go ahead.
and also is to have passion for life. I have passion for life. Even they tried to kill me 3 times. I still wanted to live. I still want to like, and still today. Even sometimes life is complex, and sometimes it's like, ah,
Yeah, sometimes it hurts.
I always wanted to live more and more. It's like, okay, what is more there? What is more there
What's
for
worth
me?
living for, right? Yes, I
Exactly.
love that. I love
Yes,
that.
yes,
I love that. That's a good question to ask, you know, if you're struggling with any of this. Is
yeah.
what is there more to live for? I love that. Gloria, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Like, absolutely amazing. And my listeners, go grab her book, reach out to her if this is something you are dealing with for sure. And until next time, we'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks so much, Gloria, for being here.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and listening in on this podcasting episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's gonna